our next guest, here to talk NFL. Got some big college stuff coming up because I smell conversations about Urban Meyer. They're so good, I can smell them. Also, my top 5 coming up in college football right now because I think that finally, for the first time in a while, Ohio State is playing with emotion, playing with gusto. They are killing opponents, and that makes them number 1 in the country. And I'll tell you where everyone else fits. But right now, Jordan Dajani joining us, CBS Sports Radio NFL writer. Find him on Twitter, at Jordan Dajani. And first off, he's just getting off the golf course. How'd you shoot, Jordan?
Not very well. I don't really want to talk about it, but it's always good to get out there and get a couple games in before the season ends.
All right, well, what the hell? We'll just move on from that. I've been there before myself. You're based out of Nashville. I'll just start with the Tennessee Titans. Has the franchise just given up on Marcus Mariota?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, when Mike Vrabel spoke to the media earlier this week, he told them that there's a chance that he would go back on his decision to play Marcus Mariota again. He's inserting Ryan Tannehill into the lineup to get a, quote, spark from his offense. But as we know, if you've watched the Titans, the issues stem a lot deeper than just the quarterback position. The offensive line is struggling. The receivers are struggling. Derrick Henry, he doesn't look like the monster he showed us to be at the end of last season. So I'm not exactly sure how Ryan Tannehill fixes things with the Titans offense right now. So if you're asking me for a prediction, I think that Marcus Mariota plays again this year. I think they end up going back to him. But with that being said, I don't know if Marcus Mariota is exactly the answer moving forward for the Titans franchise.
Titans are 2-4. Are the walls closing in a little bit on Mike Vrabel?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I still think it's a little too early to say that. But definitely, especially when you have an issue at quarterback, there's going to be a lot of questions asked. And I see that he's starting to be listed up there when it comes to Vegas releasing odds on the next head coach fired. So I think it's too early to say that right now. But then again, we could look back at this as kind of the first stages of his last time in Nashville, I guess you could say.
What's the problem with the L.A. Rams right now? People are looking at the acquisition that they've made with Jalen Ramsey. They let go of Marcus Peters in a trade to set up the Jalen Ramsey deal. People are thinking they're playing it desperate, are they?
I think they kind of are in some ways. And going back to your first question, what's the problem with the L.A. Rams? If you asked me this question a couple weeks ago, I would have told you it's the secondary. But just last week, Jared Goff passed for only 78 yards. There's definitely some problems on the offense. Ty Gurley, I know he was hurt last week, but he's, of course, not being utilized as the star that he is. I know that there's still some questions about his health and his longevity. But in terms of them playing it desperate, I was very confused by the Marcus Peters trade. I think it would have been a pretty cool dynamic duo there, Marcus Peters and Jalen Ramsey back there in the secondary. But as soon as they started moving pieces around, Aqib Talib to IR, Marcus Peters to the Baltimore Ravens, I thought we started to see the tea leaves being read a little bit there with Jalen Ramsey on his way there. But in terms of them playing it desperate, Jalen Ramsey is arguably the best cornerback in the National Football League. I think that even if he doesn't have 4 interceptions tomorrow, he can still bring a spark to this defense and this team in general.
Jordan Dajani joining us on the show. So you like this move for the Rams?
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. I don't think it hurts your team in that way. But like you said, the problems stem much deeper than just the secondary on this team. So I'm banking on hopefully Jalen Ramsey, like I said, kind of brings a spark just to this franchise in general now that they got a real playmaker in the secondary there.
Jordan Dajani joining us on the show. I love storylines and I love to play imagination, and I'll even admit when I'm wrong. It's a 3, maybe 4-week injury for Patrick Mahomes. I can already see the storylines now. I can already see the revitalization of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think for whatever reason, Jordan, I just got that stealing feeling that Kansas City's going to use this and they're going to roll off right into Super Bowl 54 when he returns.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong in saying that. I mean, Andy Reid has had success. I think Andy Reid has had success with backup quarterbacks. Look at his time in Philly. Mahomes is, of course, this is the best case scenario for Patrick Mahomes. He's going to come back in 3 or 4 weeks and probably be okay. Now, Matt Moore is not your top tier backup quarterback, but if he can just run the offense, run simple plays, get the ball into the hands of his playmakers, the Chiefs should find success. I was pretty surprised that the Broncos didn't score at all after Patrick Mahomes went back, right? You had to think that the players were probably thinking in their heads, all right, we got a chance to come back. We don't like seeing players go down, especially someone of Mahomes' caliber, but the Broncos couldn't find a spark at all. Matt Moore simply ran the offense, had a bomb to Tyreek Hill, so you know that option is still there. I don't have faith in Matt Moore as the face of your franchise, of course, but I think the Chiefs aren't, we saw Teddy Bridgewater come in with the New Orleans Saints, and he hasn't lost a game. I'm not saying Matt Moore is going to go undefeated with Mahomes out, but I still think that the Chiefs are going to be one of the better teams in the NFL when it's all said and done.
Are the Chargers already a failed experiment in L.A.?
A failed experiment in what way?
Well, you got that many Steelers fans in your building. It's not even about the wins and losses. You have a owner in Stan Kroenke who seems to not want you in the stadium. It feels very Clippers to me. It feels very old without the terrible racism. It feels very old style Don Sterling Clippers to me with the Chargers in LA getting ready for this new stadium, Jordan.
Yeah, you have to feel bad for these players. They get out and they have to play in front of like 20,000 fans, and 17,000 of those fans aren't even fans of the home team, right? But I just feel bad for this team in general, right? I mean, so many injuries on both sides of the ball for this team. This is a weird interim period before their new stadium. I agree. I don't like putting franchises through that. I don't like putting players through that. The fans don't like that either. So, yeah, it's a bit of a mess right now. But, maybe when we look back on this move in a couple of years, maybe it will be a forgotten time in history.
Who wins in a fight, Brett Bielema or Michael Bennett?
Brett Bielema, hands down.
Wow. Well, one's a much better athlete right now. Brett Bielema, I've seen pictures of Brett with his shirt off there, Jordan. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. If we're talking about BMI, then there's no question. But here's the thing. Brett Bielema is a tough son of a gun. That guy takes no crap from nobody. I think he'll get the job done.
Jordan Dajani joining us on the show. How would you improve officiating?
Oh, my gosh. That's a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
This pass interference challenge thing has made it so much more worse than I thought it would be when we initially introduced this ruling, right? I mean, everything is so subjective. I feel like we should just go back to having subjective calls. But like you said, I mean, the hands to the face penalty that ultimately caused the Detroit Lions the game. Yes, I said it. The Lions lost because of officiating. It's almost like we need a full-time ref in the booth that's getting the looks at every play like we are and making almost everything reviewable by booth or challenge. Now, that will slow the game down tremendously. But in terms of just trying to get everything correct objectively, I don't see how there's another way to do that. Now, I'm not calling for that, but if you're asking me the question, how do we fix officiating, that's the only thing I can think of right now.
Well, can I throw a scenario by you here, buddy?
Absolutely.
I brought up at the beginning of the show, I was surprised that some people agreed with me. Some people didn't. I want to get rid of replay altogether. I want to go back to the old system.
I'd have no problem with that at all. People miss calls. Everyone's human, including the officials. And just going back to having everything subjective with what they saw in a certain play, I do think that you're right in saying that it would make things better than they are right now.
Wow. I can't believe you're agreeing with me with some of the stuff I'm saying here.
Really?
Like, I'm not trying to be a flamethrower over here. I just thought I would get more pushback, especially with getting rid of replay and some of the other stuff. Like Mahomes taking him to the Super Bowl after he comes back from an injury. Let me throw another thing by you. Are you getting from the fans? You're a writer. You have to deal with fans, talk with fans, CBS Sports, the whole thing. And not dealing with fans sounds like a bad thing, but you talk with fans. Are you getting a sense outside that fans seem to resent Patrick Mahomes?
No, not at all. I don't. How would they resent them or resent him?
Well, seeing as you're in a place like Tennessee, like I'm in a place like Cleveland, okay? And right now it's not going well with Cleveland. And John Dorsey was the guy who drafted Patrick Mahomes, traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. And so there is a feeling where you have cities like, well, the Jets fans in New York, maybe even Tennessee with Mariota, Tampa Bay with Jameis Winston, even though those times were before Patrick Mahomes, obviously, that things go wrong, you get a quarterback, it's a rocky road, we'll see how it lands for all these ones, but man, Patrick Mahomes, you sit for a year, you still make the playoffs because you had Alex Smith, and now away you go. And I think there might be a little bit of, and he makes it look so easy, a little bit of jealousy in there.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely see how teams would be jealous, but at the same time, everybody knew who Patrick Mahomes was in college. This was a prospect. He was considered a top 10 quarterback coming in. Everyone thought he had problems with his footwork. He benefited from the air raid. But he comes in and all of a sudden he turns into this NFL star. So talking to fans, I feel like it's more of an appreciation. I feel like he's kind of has a draw it draws fans from both generations in terms of NFL fans, with what he can do with the ball, no-look passes. He's putting up 400 yards through the air every game. So I think there's a general appreciation there. But there's definitely going to be a movement where teams, and this was a movement that started just a couple of years ago. It's not just that Mahomes introduced it, but there's going to be a movement where teams feel like they just need to find a quarterback who's a star, who's a budding star, and everything will take care of itself from there on out. And that's what we're going to see. So it's going to be really interesting coming into this draft class, which is loaded with quarterbacks and potential stars, how early and how many quarterbacks go in the first round. So I think it's more of a general appreciation. No one was predicting Patrick Mahomes was kind of coming to the NFL and win MVP in his first year as a starter, right? So that's how I feel about it.
Final one. I got like 60 seconds. Good or a bad idea? 17-game schedule.
Ooh, there's so many kinks to work out with that in my mind. Just in terms of trying out players and trying to settle your 53-man roster. Everyone hates preseason. It's not fun to watch, but coaches like it in terms of they get more time to evaluate their roster and try to find those diamonds in the rough. But right now, I'll say I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea for monetary value, and I think it's just a good idea for entertainment purposes as well.
Jordan, we thank you very much for the time. Loved your answers, frankly, because we agreed with each other so much. All the best to you and yours, buddy.